or skating, she had tiny feet but was very fast, in a costume showing more leg than was usual in this part of upstate New York. Some were annoyed by her manners. After one visit, the Crooked Lake Gazette reported, "Among those arriving last week by train from Bath was Miss Daphne Bannister, here for one of her frequent stays with our esteemed biology teacher, Miss Henrietta Atkins. A well-known authoress, Miss Bannister has written guides to the insect pests, the wildflowers of Massachusetts, where she makes her home, and the birds of the fields and farms. She traveled from the Cornell campus, where she presented a talk on parasitic nematodes." That one, the gossip said, Henrietta's friend. All around Crooked Lake, people were aware of Henrietta. Mention of her in the Gazette goes back as far as grade school. Winner of the spelling bee. Student fossil collection impresses visitors. Sisters show off lake trout caught in fishing derby. Later articles note her departure for Oswego, where she went for her teacher training, and the grant she received when she finished. She met Daphne after she graduated at a summer school for the study of natural history run by Louis Agassiz. After that, she came back home to teach biology at the high school. She established the Natural History Club, the Young Lepidopterists Club, an ice skating group, a reading group. Several times she won teaching awards. Each year she pulled a few promising students into her investigations, which ranged from aiding the local farmers' experiments with breeding cows and corn, to studies of fish, the development of other uses for wine grapes during Prohibition, and a new method for producing the membrane used to make balloons and rigid airships impermeable to gas. All of this is noted in the Gazette. Henrietta, so firmly rooted wherever she stands that she looks tall unless she's next to someone else, ages silently in the photographs. Her skirts narrow, then rise, then give way to voluminous slacks. Her sleeves are always pushed back from her sturdy wrists and blunt-fingered hands, lines appearing as her hair grays and metamorphoses from a mass pinned at the back of her head to a neat crop just below her ears. Grateful students mention her as they in turn appear in the newspaper for one thing or another. Appreciative colleagues thank her as they retire. The tone is invariably kind, except for the notes about Daphne's visits, which are colored by something that wouldn't be there if either of the women had married. Now they seem to point at something. They might not have read that way then. 3. Every coastline shows the destructive effects of the sea, for the bays and coves, the caves at the bases of the cliffs, the buttresses and needles, are the work of the waves, and this work is constantly going on. The knotty sticks so commonly seen on the beach are often the hearts of oak or cedar trees, from which the tiny crystals of sand have slowly cut away their less solid outer growth. In August of 1885, Henrietta was 33 and had been teaching high school for 12 years. Although her sister Hester was almost a decade younger, she'd married 2 years earlier and left Henrietta alone at home with their mother. This had suited Henrietta very well, until her friend Mason Perotti, an ambitious farmer whom she'd known for some time, began to court her attentively. Confusingly. Now, after 7 months of thinking one way about this in the morning and another in the afternoon, she knew he was about to propose. She was fond of him, as was her mother. If she was going to change her life and start a family, it was surely time. But to leave her job, after all she'd put into it, no point to that unless she could do more work, not less, as Daphne had after leaving her own teaching job. And her mother's argument that Henrietta would be teaching her own children wasn't wholly convincing. She and Daphne had shared a vacation every summer since they'd met, which didn't always mean Daphne visiting Henrietta. Sometimes Henrietta went to the little town in western Massachusetts, where Daphne, having pried herself free from her parents and her brothers, had bought herself a tiny white house. And twice they'd managed to stay at a resort. Once in the White Mountains, once in Rhode Island. What luxury, to have their meals cooked and their rooms cleaned. Henrietta had been Daphne.